This week on the Travel Show, I'm in Lebanon. Finding out why Beirut is hoping to regain its reputation as the entertainment capital of the Middle East.
We have amazing people who are doing work that is internationally recognised.
Also coming up, I'll be discovering how an ordinary man became the king of his own castle. Did he build it himself?
Himself, stone by stone. It took him 73 years.
Plus, Lucy hits the British countryside to check out the latest hiking gadgets.
GoPro, take a photo.
With its mix of minarets and church spires, Lebanon's capital Beirut is an intoxicating clash of cultures and religions between the Mediterranean and the Middle East. And I've come at a special time for the city. This year marks 75 years since this nation finally gained its independence, the birth of modern Lebanon. For 4 centuries, it was the Ottomans who ruled here, right up until the end of the First World War, when control was handed to the French. It wasn't until 1943 that the struggle for self-rule finally paid off. Now, this statue here in Martyr Square was put here to commemorate all of those who died resisting Ottoman rule in the name of Lebanese independence. Today, the statue is pocked with bullet holes, scarred by the civil war that tore this city apart in the 1970s and 80s and made Beirut a byword for sectarianism and conflict. A significant proportion of the city's historic buildings have been torn down. And on the ones that are still standing, the damage caused by the war is clearly visible. But it wasn't always this way. In the 1960s, Beirut was the height of glamour, dubbed the Paris of the Middle East. And few spots epitomized this ideal better than one of the city's 5-star destinations. This commemorative book was produced a few years ago to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the hotel. And when you look through it, it really gives you an idea of the caliber of celebrity who stayed here. I mean, they've got Marlon Brando, there's Bridget Bardot, even the great Muhammad Ali.
I was coming to the Phoenicia since the beginning. We used to do fashion shows here, and this is a very special hotel.
Mona Ross is an international model who was based in Beirut before the war.
Wow.
Mona Ross, take a seat. Now she's a permanent resident of the hotel.
I mean, it's part of my life. I consider I'm part of the columns of the Phoenicia. Maybe I'm...
You're part of the furniture, yeah.
Part of the furniture.
You're part of the fabric of the whole hotel. When the war came, the hotel became a battleground, a key strategic point because of its size and downtown location.
I was passing by next to the Phoenicia when it was destroyed. And I saw a little plant, hibiscus plant with a little red flowers on it. And I was so touched by this, and I couldn't believe my eyes, why this plant is alive in front of this hotel who was dead.
Today, a generation of young Lebanese are determined to shake the dust and debris from the city's reputation.
This is nice. Where have you brought me to, Lisa?
So we're in an area called Mar Mikhail. When you come during the day, you can actually discover a lot of art galleries, concept stores, but then at night time it completely changes. So you can see there are a number of bars and restaurants, so it's quite buzzing at
My sort of
night.
place. I think a lot of people, when they think about Lebanon or Beirut, their perception is a country that is war-torn and is full of violence.
The war is part of Lebanon's history, but it doesn't define the country. We have this amazing art scene. We have a lot of designers and artists and film producers, architects, amazing people who are doing work that is actually internationally recognized. And I think that is the best way for people to really understand what this country is like.
Lisa takes me to Central Station, which was recently named among the world's 50 best bars to try Lebanon's national drink, arak.
Cheers, enjoy. Thank you. Oh, that's strong. It's got a real aniseed taste. You couldn't drink that too quickly. You have to take your time. So is this the drink that young Lebanese people are drinking?
Actually, this is a drink you normally enjoy with family over a long lunch. A lot of the bars, especially Central Station, they are creating these very innovative cocktails that celebrate the flavors of Lebanon in a very interesting way.
So here's a modernist falafel.
Oh.
It's a deconstructed falafel sandwich with vodka as the base, using the falafel spices.
This is so nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, falafel cocktail.
Yeah.
Oh, that is good. You know what? That's like a drink that also feels like dinner. Yeah, I like this better than the arak.
And it's the nightlife that's really putting Beirut back on the map. The music hall is one of the capital's most famous venues, hosting a cabaret packed with an eclectic mix of musical forms.
I said I'm going to create a place where you will have extremes. It can be classical music and then something that is totally punk or very kitsch. I always like to mix things, to be very eclectic. I try to work on cultural entertainment. Usually those two words do not meet because entertainment is nightlife and alcohol and culture is museums and theaters.
With its bill celebrating both the city's pre-war golden age and contemporary music trends, the music hall offers a vision of Beirut comfortable with its past and living in the moment. And if you're thinking of heading to Lebanon, here are the travel show's top tips for things to know before you go. Lebanon is an all-year-round destination with relatively mild winters and warm summers. But if you want to stay clear of the crowds, it's best to avoid August when things get busy. Whilst most of the country is perfectly safe to explore, there are some areas that have travel advisories against them, like the border with Syria. So it's always best to check with your own government's online advice first if you're planning a road trip. For some of the best views of the country, check out one of Lebanon's most popular attractions, the Teleferique aerial cableway, just north of Beirut. The gondolas will take you 650 meters up and you'll get breathtaking views of the Bay of Juneyeh and the surrounding city, all topped off by the statue of Our Lady of Lebanon and a stunning basilica. And if you're more into snow than sea and sun, then don't forget that Lebanon is home to the Middle East's biggest ski resort. You'll find almost 50 miles of piste up to around 8,000 feet on the slopes of Mount Lebanon. The town of Mazar is the main resort, where you'll also find a buzzing après-ski scene once you've hung up your skis for the day. Still to come on this week's travel show.
So say cheese.
Lucy is testing out some of the latest gadgets on her hike around the English countryside. And I'll be finding out about one man's mission to create his own fortress. So stick with us for that.
Today I'm in the beautiful North Downs in Surrey for the day to escape the hustle and bustle of London and to test out a bunch of gadgets during my hike around the countryside. First up, it's this, the GoTenna mesh device. It pairs to an app on your phone using Bluetooth, then uses walkie-talkie radio frequencies to send text communications when you're out of phone signal. So I've got one device for me and one device for my colleague Tom here who's going to help me test them out. We're both on a mission to find a good spot. Now, mobile reception is pretty patchy, but to make sure it definitely works, we've put our phones into airplane mode. So off we go. Lunchtime's a calling. Let me know if you find a good spot for lunch. In open areas, the device can work up to 4 miles apart and up to half a mile in denser locations. And the battery life is about 24 hours. But it's not cheap. A pair will cost £199. So Tom's just sent me a message in the app, so it looks like we've got a spot for lunch, which is perfect because I'm pretty hungry. Now, it's worth noting you cannot make phone calls using this device, but you can share and access GPS location data alongside a map. So I know exactly where to go to meet Tom. So now I know where I'm going, it gives me more time to test out my other gadgets. And I just happen to have the latest GoPro action cam. And I'm quite excited to try this out, mainly because its killer feature is image stabilization, which is going to give me super smooth video. Like we've seen on previous versions, it's also got voice control. But does it work? GoPro, take a photo. It's counting me in. I'm filming my journey to Tom, sped up by ×15. This GoPro 7 costs £379, or you can get one with slimmed down features for half the price. GoPro, stop recording. The GoPro Hero 7 Black is expensive, but this is more than just an incremental update. So for your money, you're getting 4K video, the ability to live stream to YouTube or Facebook. You can shoot super stabilized time-lapse videos and then chuck in the ability to automatically adjust the settings based on your surroundings. And you're looking at GoPro's best action cam yet. Well, for something a little more retro, I've got the latest snap-to-print cameras, the Kodak Mini Shot and the Polaroid One Step Plus, which is what I'll start with. Tom, I know you hate this, but you're the subject of my photo, so say cheese! This camera prices at £149.99. It has a standard lens and a portrait lens, plus there's a partner app available. Admittedly, photo quality wasn't as impressive as we were hoping, but after a few attempts, we discovered that you need to place the photos face down in order for them to develop for around 5 to 10 minutes. But even after doing so, photo quality still wasn't that good, and for a Polaroid, it's a little bit disappointing. We did, however, test the camera indoors and the photo came out much better. I also like how it captures moments in the iconic Polaroid square frame. Now it's time to test out the Kodak. Selfie?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Despite what the name implies, it's not that mini, but needs to accommodate the cartridges which contain the paper. At £69.99 from Kodak, it's one of the cheapest instant cameras on the market. It also has a 1.7-inch LCD viewfinder, so you can check your pic before printing a credit card-sized photo. So it's certainly not quiet, and also design-wise, it's quite lightweight and a bit kiddie-esque, but that's indicative of just how easy it is to use. The screen is quite nice. I like the fact that you can see what you're doing. It walks you through the printing process, and your photo's out in less than a minute. Certainly quicker than the Polaroid. Photo quality is not the greatest, but it definitely fares better with close-ups. Overall, both cameras fare better with close-ups, with the Kodak being much better for outdoors.
And to close this week, I'm at Betadine Palace, one of Lebanon's historic castles. Many of these fortresses are left over from the Crusades, but Betadine was built later, at the end of the 1700s, in tribute to the country's ruler, Emir Bashir Shihab II. It's only an hour out of Beirut, but nestled among the mountains, it's a world away from the city's hustle and bustle. Legend has it that once this unique palace was completed, the emir ordered for the architect to have his hands chopped off to prevent him from building anything as beautiful ever again. The building was restored in the 1950s. Ziad's father was part of the restoration team.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, welcome. My father was here, he was 20 years old.
So he worked here when he was very young.
Yeah, when he was very young.
This is Ziad's father, Musa al-Mamari. When Musa was working on the palace, he discovered a plot of land just a few kilometers away and had an idea. A few years later, in 1962, he laid the foundations of his very own landmark, Musa Castle.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
How long did it take your father to build it?
It took him 73 years of work to fulfill his dream. Imagine.
73
Yeah,
years.
73 years.
And did he build it himself?
Himself, stone by stone, every stone. And as we can see, every stone has a different design.
Musa drew the plans, laid the bricks, and perfected the carvings of his very own 3,500 square meter castle.
He wrote here, I entered as still young and get out as an old man. So to tell us that he spent all his life in doing this.
Inside, the surprises keep coming. Over 30 rooms, there are more than 150 life-size stone and plaster figures, posed in dioramas depicting life in historic rural Lebanon.
Ah, look at that. This is amazing.
Yeah. This is a village scene from Musa's early life. And he made it all by his own hand. The statues, everything.
Ziad takes me downstairs to show me where it all began, Musa's classroom. When he was a child, he was caught sketching the plans for his dream castle. His teacher responded by beating him and tearing apart the drawing.
My father stood up and he collected the pieces of drawing and he told them, you're going to see this in real one day. Let me show you the drawing.
Look at this.
You see?
And the original tears, so he stuck it back.
Yeah, that's right.
And it looks exactly like the
You see, it's similar, very, very similar.
This is a work of art.
Yeah.
Your father sounds like the sort of person that I like because, you know, when somebody tells him he can't do something, it makes him even more determined.
Determined, yes. This is the story of my father.
Musa was set on avenging this childhood humiliation. He built a small door at the castle's entrance, so his teacher would have to bow to him when he finally visited. And if you need any more proof of Musa's resolve, inside is a display of his own personal armory, a massive collection of weapons. Something tells me that Musa was a man not to be messed with. I've never seen so many guns in my life. Since it opened to the public in 1969, the castle has grown to become a big tourist attraction. In the summer, Ziad estimates they regularly welcome more than 1,000 visitors a day. This afternoon, Musa's wife is among them.
بالعالم كله صار بيحكي بقصة موسى وقصة قلعة موسى. أنا كنت فخورة كتير فيه وكنت الإبداع يلي هو صار وأنا عرفته من قبل إنه هو مبدع وهو بده يوصل وهو بده يعمل شيء مميز عن كل العالم وبالفعل عملنا القلعة مميزة وكانت إيده.
Sadly, Musa died earlier in the year, in January.
أنا بفكر إنه موسى ما مات، موسى موجود معنا، موسى موجود، روحه موجودة هون. فكل يوم بيجي بصلي له، أول ما أقوم من النوم بلبس وبيجي على الصورة بقول له يا موسى أنت معنا، أنت موجود معنا.
But his family are determined to keep his legacy alive. Betadine Palace, which your father helped to restore, is more than 200 years old. Do you think in 200 years' time, people will still be coming to visit Musa Castle?
Yes, for sure.
This place has been absolutely out of this world. It's hard to believe that one man built all of this by himself. But I'm afraid to say that's your lot from us this week on The Travel Show. Catch us next week when...
Turning left and cool.
Krista's behind the wheel in Paris as one of France's most iconic cars celebrates 70 years on the road. So make sure you join us for that if you can. And don't forget, you can keep up with us in real time by following us on social media. But for now, from me, Adia Depitan, and all the Travel Show team here in beautiful Lebanon, yalla bye.